Hey everyone, it's Alicia here at New VA Advice, where I offer business, marketing, and mindset coaching to help virtual assistants get out of overwhelm and create a business that they love. I stopped in and asked you, what do you want to know more about the next time I jump on a video? And it was pretty clear most people chose the topic of, drum roll, of using social media to get clients in your virtual assistant business. So I thought about it and made notes, because you know me, I like my notes. And I thought of all of the things that have helped me, as well as VAs that I've coached, in order to use social media to get clients. And so that is what I'm going to share with you today. So if you're watching live, say hello. Thank you so much for being here. Feel free, if you are watching live, to ask questions as we go. And if Facebook cooperates and shows me your live comments, I will read them. If not, I will answer whatever questions I can afterwards. So let me give you like a little rundown of what we're going to cover. So yes, talking about using social media to get clients. I'm basically going to break down a strategy that you can use piece by piece, so it's not overwhelming. This is a strategy that I use. Like I said, this is also a strategy that I teach to virtual assistants that I coach. So that's the whole thing. I'm going to make it less overwhelming. Is it the only way to do this or get clients online and get clients, period? No, but it's a proven way for myself and for other VAs. Okay, so I'm going to give you the process, and it will be less overwhelming. So stick with me for that. The other thing I want to tell you about it, it doesn't have to be expensive. The process that I use has nothing to do with using ads. Again, not saying that you can't use ads. It may work very well for you, but I'm not going to discuss that. The other thing is, what I'm going to talk about today, it's not new concepts. Some of this you might say, oh, really? Okay, I've heard that before. But are you doing it? Are you putting it into place? Have you practiced this? Have you tried it? Have you put these pieces together, 1, 2, 3, and then, made a plan and stuck to it and tried it? It's really about investing your time to build relationships. That's what this strategy is all about, and being consistent in doing so. So I will mention those things along the way, but consistency is key. It's so important. Hi, ladies. Tells me who joined. Okay, so the other cool thing about using social media to get clients is that you are no longer limited to location. So think about that. Time and time again, I will get someone who's interested in starting a VA business, and we have our free consultation call. And one of their biggest concerns is that they are not sure, they don't feel like there's enough clients in their local area, or they live in a small town and they say to me, there's no one here to get business from, so how do I know I could even start? You have the world at your fingertips if you just open your internet. Okay, so that is the really awesome thing about getting clients online and using social media to do so. A lot of these things they're free, they're out there. Use them, take advantage of that, and use it to your benefit. So you no longer have to worry about only thinking about clients in one local small area. You can get clients anywhere you want in the world. I'm not saying that you can't get local business. Again, there's never only one way to do something. Okay, I'm just telling you ways that are proven that I have used and other VAs have used that have been successful. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover today when it comes to using social media to get clients. We're going to talk about what you need to do first before you hop on social media, how to know where to find your market on social media, what social media platforms to use, how to make the most of your time on social media, and then how to turn those absolute strangers that you see out there in social media land, how to turn those people into possible clients or get relationships started with them. Okay, so those are our basics. I thought it'd be helpful if I give you a little outline. Those are the things I'm going to go through. Like I said, if you are watching live and you have questions as we go, feel free to type them in, and I'll address it in the moment, or I'll tell you that it's something that I am planning on already talking about it and that we'll get to it. Okay, so first thing. Oh, and P.S., I don't know how long this video is going to be. I just wanted to think about all the things that I thought would help you on this topic, and then I put together this video. So Some people say, oh, is this going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I don't know. As long as it takes me to give you all the things that I think that you should know that I wish I knew when I started. So we'll see how it goes. Hey, Ginny. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Christine. Thank you for joining. Okay, so very first thing. Remember I said the first thing really is something you need to know before you even get on social media is you need to know what did I want to say? You need to know what your services are and the market that you want to reach. That is first and foremost before anything else. Now, am I telling you that you have to know exact pieces and have that down to a science yet, especially if you haven't done VA work before? No, you're not going to know that exactly, but you need to spend some time thinking about your services, the things that you rock at that you can do and provide, the things that you have experience in already or have done in your past previous jobs or life experience. So your services, the things that you know how to do, and then a market that you want to work with. So this is someone who has a pain point that you resolve with your services and they can afford to pay you. So they need the help that you provide. You're matching those things up. You're marrying it together. Here's my services. Here's a group of people who I know I could help with those services and they can afford to pay me because we want this to be a viable business, right? So the biggest thing I see here is I know a lot of people are eager to just get that first client. So they'll say, hey, I can offer any kind of services to anybody who might need it. Can you just tell everybody you know? You're not going to attract anybody that way. You need to be a little more specific. I'm not saying that you can only have one kind of service that you ever offer in your life. And I'm also not saying that you only can ever work with one kind of person. But the more you narrow it down, people will get to see themselves in your marketing and they will resonate with that. And then they'll want to know more about you and what you do. Okay, so I'm not going to get into all of the details in this video training on how to figure out your services in your target market, but it's something that I can do with coaching clients. I have group and one-on-one options, and I also have products available that you can purchase to help you through that process of figuring out your services in your market. Okay, so that's my whole, before you get on social media, your first step really is to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Be purposeful. That's not the word, but that's what I'm coming up with right now. Be purposeful in knowing your services in the market you want to reach first, okay? So then you have this market in mind. Now you need to find them on social media, right? Obvious next step. Okay, so let's think about this logically. You need to get a picture of that person in your mind. Where do they hang out online? Where are they already? You can take some educated guesses. It's okay, because some of this you might know without even having to do the research and looking into. Think about it. For example, people who sell physical products, maybe those are your clients. Well, they very likely may have accounts on things like Pinterest and Instagram because they're very visual and you need to see their products and they may do well there. So that could be a place that you would find those people. If you are working with a more professional crowd, those people are going to be on LinkedIn. Most people know that that's more businessy, professional type industries gravitate towards LinkedIn. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, where just think naturally what would make sense to you, take some educated guesses, start there. From there then, how do you find them on the social media platforms? I'm going to tell you, it doesn't have to be this big complicated thing. I was just talking with someone about this the other day. It was the whole like, okay, well, so I have an idea. I know what services I want to provide. I have an idea of the market I'm going after, but how do I figure out what platforms they're on and locate them besides the things that I just mentioned? You can use the search feature on a social media platform. You don't have to use some fancy tools and spend a bunch of money, and so you can do your own market research. That's what I'm telling you here. When I said it's an investment of your time, this is a whole part of that process. So use a search box. Let's say, for example, business coaches are someone that you want to work with. Use those keywords, whatever keywords you'd use to describe your market. Open up Twitter if you think it might be a place that they might be, and type that in and see what kind of results you get. Just take a look and see how many business coach profiles come up that are active and updated. See what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a big complicated thing. You can completely do that. It's part of your market research. So you must take some time and do it on the different platforms and see what you come up with. But that is a great way to start. Okay. Like I said, I know it's not a big complicated thing, but it's a thing. Some people are like, I never thought of that. Nobody said to do that before, right? And those are the kind of things that I wish I knew when I started out. I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So that's why I'm sharing. Okay. So do some searches on the different platforms to see if you can find these people who would be in your target market. See if you see a bunch of them on there, then it might be a good idea to say, okay, well, that's a platform that I'd like to invest some time into. Okay. Here's the other big thing when it comes to that. So do some market research, we're going to call it, and see where you're finding them hanging out on these social media platforms. Please know, though, you do not have to be on every single social media platform. And I know this might be different than what you've been told before, but I am here to tell you, I promise you, you don't have to be on every single one. Now, it's different if, let's say, you have these huge social media services and that's everything you're pushing. And so, of course, you want to have a social media presence, because how are clients going to want to hire you to work with you if you don't have your own social media presence and that's what you're doing for them, right? So, keep that in mind. But my point is, you don't need to be everywhere. You're going to drive yourself nuts. Focus on one or two places. So when you've done your research, narrow it down to maybe 1 to 2 platforms to start. You need to start somewhere, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm helping you take the overwhelm out of that whole concept right now. So pick 2 places. So maybe it's Facebook and Twitter. Just throwing it out there. It might be different for you. Just focus on those 2 and learn all you can about how to network on those platforms. Now, I'm also going to give you a lot of tips on how to network that will work for any platform. But I'm talking specifically, figure out, people's styles are different and the way they like to interact with other people. So you want to focus on 1 or 2 that you know that your market is on, as well as ones that you enjoy being on or are willing to learn how to be on properly. Okay, those are big ones. So you don't have to, if you really don't like Twitter, you don't have to be on Twitter. I promise that's not the only place you're going to find your market. They will be other places besides just Twitter, I promise. So pick 2 that you find your target market on and that you either already enjoy or are willing to learn more about to get serious about getting involved there. Okay, best way to start. And like I said, different etiquette for different ones. Facebook is kind of like hanging out with your friends, and LinkedIn is more like, a business coffee meeting to get to know people. Okay, so there's a different style there. And then you have Twitter, where there's a limited number of characters you can use to type in. So you have to learn the style of the platform and how it makes sense for you to use it. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say learn the platform. Okay. So we've talked about what you need to do before. I'm just going to give you a little recap here. You need to think about your services and your market. And then we talked about how to locate them on social media platforms. The next steps, everything else from here, this is like, to me, the biggest part, like the meat of things. Now it's time to take steps to build a relationship. And I'll say it again, to build a business takes an investment of something, either your time or your money or both. So what I'm teaching you here is an investment of your time. It is not things that are costing you a bunch, but you need to be willing to dedicate the time and put the time in to do these steps and be consistent. Remember, I mentioned that at the beginning, consistency is key. You can't try these things for a day and say, didn't work out, I'm moving on. You don't really know after a day, right? Okay, so you figured out where these people are online. And let's say you've narrowed it down. Say, it's Facebook and Twitter. Now you need to interact and share with them, right? This is the relationship building part. If you were meeting someone in purpose, you're going to network and get to know people. You're going to do this online now. I'm going to help you switch so that you figure out how to do that online as well. So when you found these people to follow, when you're checking out, their profile on something, let's say it's Facebook or whatever, their business page, do they have a blog? Keep doing that research, but now you're going to do it on individual people. So if you found someone you want to follow, let's say on Facebook, their business page, do they have a blog? Great. I want you to go subscribe. Go do that. Leave comments on their blog posts. People love that. Now, insightful comments. I don't want you to just say, great post. Put a little more into that. Tell them why it resonated with you, or add a point, that you want to bring out, or mention why a particular part stood out to you. Just a little more something than, hey, great post. Okay. People enjoy seeing that. They enjoy knowing that something they put out there resonated with someone and people are hearing them. Okay. So if they have a blog, a website that you can subscribe to their posts, go ahead and do that. Leave comments on it. Share their blog posts and then tag them on your social media platform so they know that you shared. That's a big part of it too. So if you're following them on Facebook, you want to tag their fan page. Now, most of them, if you go to their website and check out their blog, they'll have social sharing icons and you're able to click on that and share. Just make sure when you do so, a lot of people don't have it set up that their name will automatically come up as the tag. You may have to manually add it. I'm telling you, it's worth a couple minutes for you to look it up and add them, because they will know that you shared their information. That's the important part. You're getting on their radar. You're building a relationship, okay? The other thing you can do then, let's say you found out they have a blog or a website, do some research on it and see what other social media platforms they're on. That'll also give you an idea of where else you want to spend time and hang out. So let's say you've only chosen one. Let's say it's Facebook, but you're finding more and more as you're visiting these, let's go with our business coach idea. You're visiting these business coach fan pages and they're also on, you're finding their blogs and they're also on Twitter. Well, get yourself on Twitter. That sounds good, right? And follow them there too. Follow them where you can. And then check out their profiles, see what they've written in their description, whether it's on their blog and social media channels, and get an idea of who they are. So you also want to make sure you gel with them as a person too. Remember, this is different than just being an employee and having to work with whatever clients come in the door at a business that you work for. You're working for you. I want you to love what you do and love who you work with. So take a look at their business philosophy, their philosophies on life, the kinds of things they're posting, and see if this is somebody you really would want to work with. If so, start making some notes of things that maybe you have in common. Like I said, maybe it's a business philosophy. Maybe it's a sports team. Maybe your kids are the same age. Maybe you are both very into Tony Robbins and you realize you both follow him online and share his quotes all the time, okay? Whatever it is, start noting some of those things that you may have in common. Again, because it's part of building relationships, right? We get to know people. On these social media platforms that you're on, join groups that they're in. You can find out what groups they're in by checking out their profiles. And if you are able to, if it makes sense as a service provider to join that group and you're not violating any group rules by doing so, join in the group and be helpful. Answer questions if you can. Doesn't mean you have to be on there every single day and posting. I also don't want you to jump in that group and post, hey, I'm a VA and here's what I do. You should hire me. I don't want you to do that. Please don't do that. Just be helpful. Be there. Be around. And before you know it, I bet a question will come up that you know an answer to that might have to do with something you do in your business, and you can quickly answer them. Or it might be something like they're looking for a tool to do something particular, and it's something you use all the time. And you can just jump in and say, oh, well, I use, for example, let's look at our group. Somebody just asked again today or yesterday what people use for like calendar scheduling tool for people to schedule appointments. Those things get asked in all kinds of groups. So if there's something you use in business that saves you time or money, chances are it's going to help a potential client save time or money. So it's okay to jump in and answer that question. And if that's all it is at the time, that's fine. It's part of relationship building. I don't want you to jump in there immediately and be like, hey, I'm Mary and these are my services and look how great my business is and check out my website and you should hire me. No. Take it down a couple notches. We'll talk about that. What else did I want to tell you? I'm just checking my notes. So like I said, this is about what I teach in this philosophy, in this particular strategy that I'm talking about with using social media to get clients. It's not the only one, but this particular one is about building genuine relationships. In my experience, those are the ones that turn into really good client relationships and then clients that stick with you. And don't we all want that client retention, right? You want that repeat business. You want that person to be a regular. And building genuine relationships is how that starts. Building that know, like, and trust factor is how that starts. So putting these pieces into place is helping to build that know, like, and trust factor, because It's different when you're virtual, right? We're online. You're not walking into a storefront and shaking hands with each other. So they need to have a way to get to know you and know that you're real and that you rock at what you do and you can rock it out in their business too. And you're not looking to leave them, you're looking to help them. So that's what this is all helping to do. So as you are finding these people on their social media channels and their blogs, and like I said, now you're going to start doing a little research about them, start making an interest list for yourself of people that you think you'd really be interested in working with. So now we're taking it down more specific, right? We talked about a group of people, business coaches, but now there may be some that you've been starting to connect with, right? Or you're following their blogs now. So now there's actual people with names and a picture and you can see them, you know, on social media. They're a real person. Start making an interest list for yourself and note their contact info. So right now, I'm not asking you to do anything else with it, but make the list. This is all part of that process. And we'll talk later about how to use this list, but however you do it, Excel, Trello, a piece of paper, a Google Doc, I don't care. That part doesn't matter. It's whatever you're going to use that you're going to keep track. But give categories on there like, you know, their name and the different contact information that you do have for them. So maybe it's an email that you got off their website. Maybe it's their website URL, their different social media URLs. Leave yourself a space for notes on how you found them or anything else you might want to note that maybe you have in common or a group that you're in together. Okay, so this is a list of people that you think would be great potentials to work with. And then, like I said, I'll get to what you're going to do with that list later. So that covers the, okay, now we got on social media, we figured out where to find them. Now you start building a relationship with them and following them and seeing what you can find out about them. Now I want to present something else to you. You can be putting content out there too, because you are interacting with them. At some point, the goal is to get them interested and they may want to come and check you out, right? Just like you checked them out and looked all of their social media profiles and, you know, in their website, they're going to want to do the same to you. So I want you to be thinking about that. Yes, it's great if you have a website. If you don't, you can still start this strategy with that one. But you at least need to make sure that your profiles are set up on these social media channels that you're interacting with them on and that things are consistent across the board, that you're clear about your services and who you provide them for, because that's going to help them know if they're in the right place and if they want to learn more about you. Okay, so I mentioned you need to be putting something out there too, right? Because if you're going to set up, let's say, a Twitter account, that's great. You're following them, you're finding them, you're making your interest list, but what are you putting out there on your feed? What is there for them to see? And a lot of people get tripped up with this. Now, if you want to blog, that's great. We're not going to get into blogging as a VA today. It's a good topic. If you want to talk about it, let me know. I can always do a video on that. You could choose not to as well. But you have to put some kind of content out there. If you blog, you can share snippets of your blog content and get people to come and read it. If not, let me give you some ideas. So first of all, I told you, what are you sharing on your feed? That's what we're talking about. If you're on a social media platform, what are you putting out there and generating as content? Well, you can share the stuff of your potential clients, right? I already mentioned that was the first and foremost. Share what they're sharing and tag them so they see that you're sharing it, or reshare things that they've put out there and tag them. So there's one thing. The rest of it is thinking about what they would be interested in reading. Not what you're finding interesting about your industry and the VA industry and everything. What do they want to know? And if you're struggling with that, what services do you provide? What pain points do they have? And what problems do your services solve for them? Then that's the stuff they need to know. That's what you got to share. So like I said, it's not complicated, but you have to start somewhere. And sometimes it's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. So you want to think about stuff having to do with their industry. Maybe there's industry news or bigger sites like that you can follow and share that they would be interested in reading about, that you can share on your site. You can do quick tips and how-tos on how to get something done or fix something or make something faster or save time or save money, something that has to do with the services that you provide to your clients. Okay, little snippets of things like that. You can share tools that you use to make your business run better. Like I said, scheduling tool, that's an easy thing. like I said, it's really about sharing tips that help solve their problems. And that's what it comes down to. And that relates to the services that you offer. So if you were a social media manager, you could share about your favorite social media scheduling tools. You could share a tip on how to save them time on social media, or how to make it less overwhelming, or whatever the problem is that you solve for them. Whatever the thing is that you hear that they complain about the most that you solve for them in your business, that's the stuff that you want to share, little tips and how-tos and snippets, okay? So you're following them and sharing what they're generating, but you're generating your own content. And this is how to do that. It's little pieces like that. Like I said, if you write blogs, great, share that. You have plenty of content now for days. You can pull pieces out of that forever. But if you don't, these are ideas on what else to put out there to be generating some content on social media so that you are active and they see that you're there and they can see the connection, right? We want them to see that connection of them and you. Okay, this next part, I want to talk about how not to let social media eat up all of your time, right? Because it can be a huge time drain. Questions or comments as we go? I think these comments are live right now. Scrolling through. Hi, everybody. All right, let me know if you have questions or comments at this point. I will do like a recap afterwards. But if we don't have any questions so far, so then the next piece is, okay, how do we not let social media eat up all of your time? Because that can happen easily. It really comes down to being having a plan and sticking to it and creating a schedule for yourself that works for you. It's going to be different for everyone, but there are things that can save you time. So first of all, let's, for example, use the tools that are at your disposal that may already be built into the social media platform that you're using. For example, with Twitter, they have a lists feature. If you had a couple different markets you're looking at, let's say business coaches was one of them, you can make a list called business coaches, and you can keep that private so they don't necessarily know that, that's this private list you've made on Twitter. And so when you go to check the feed on Twitter to save yourself time, just check the feed of each of your lists. See what your business coaches are talking about. And maybe you work with, I don't know, health and wellness industry, then click on that list, see what they're talking about today. It'll save you time. You can just go in and check their feeds and see what you want to share or what you want to comment on, that kind of thing, okay? So sometimes it's just about using the tools that are already at your disposal and built into the social media platform that you're on. You can also go outside of that and use something like Buffer. Buffer is a great tool for auto scheduling things. It is fabulous for that, and it's not hard to figure out. So remember I mentioned you want to put some of your own content out there. Well, guess what? You can pre-schedule that. You can sit down and do it in one block. I suggest having all of that written down somewhere else and saving it, because you can recycle those things over and over later. You could change some wording, or you could just reuse the same ones a couple months later, because no one's reading your feed like a journal over and over the same thing. It's social media is live and it's active and it's moving. So save that content, write it down somewhere else. I personally like to keep things in Word, and then I have everything saved in Dropbox, and I can go in at any time and reuse certain snippets of a list or make a Google Doc, okay? But you could take snippets ahead of time and choose one day or 1 week to sit there and just pre-schedule things. Buffer makes it so much easier to do that, okay? So you can use something like that. It's a third-party software where it allows you to schedule on other social media platforms. That's going to save you a great amount of time when it comes to making sure that you are active out there putting content out. The other thing is that you don't have to be live on social media all the time. It is okay to schedule things, but then I want you to also schedule in time to be live and actively be checking your social media platform. So for example, you want to check for new likes or shares or follows. You want to respond to someone who did share something. Make sure that you do that. You acknowledge them. Schedule that in though. Don't just willy-nilly, do it. Don't just start your day by opening up Facebook, and because you'll just spend hours will go by. It happens to all of us. I'm sure many of you are sitting there nodding your heads because it happens, right? So schedule some time. Start with something and figure it out and see what works for you. Everybody's different. So for example, you might say, all right, I'm going to do 15 minutes a day, just giving you a number. And that's going to be my live social media time. Separate time is scheduling that content. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that live time where, okay, I got 15 minutes. I'm going to go into Facebook. I'm going to check my notifications, any new likes, shares, or comments. And I'm going to actively see if there's anyone new that I want to connect with today. Now I'm going to go into Twitter. I'm going to check my lists. I'm going to do the same thing, you know, whatever it is, whatever platform it is. But if you are intentional about it and you schedule that time, it will make a huge difference for you. You will not be stuck all day on social media. You'll feel like you can get some things done and you can move on. Okay. Okay. So there's another step of this relationship building online. And this is where your interest list comes into play. This is about actually reaching out to someone and taking that next step and not just waiting, because you might have done all these things up to this point, but maybe you didn't push any of that interaction. You're just kind of watching from the sidelines. Totally okay to do that to start out. You have to start somewhere and get to know people and see how the platforms work, okay? Not a problem with that. But at some point, you have to remember, just like people say, you know, you don't just build your website and then immediately get 50 clients the next day that want to work with you, right? It doesn't work that way. You don't say, oh, I'm live, and then everyone wants to just come and work with you. You have to put yourself out there. It's the same thing on social media. So you can create your profiles and you can schedule out some content and you can find some people to follow. But if you don't ever interact with those people and reach out to those people, you're not going to be very likely to turn those people into clients. Yes, you might have someone that will stumble across your page and come to you, and that's great. But I want you to be intentional about it, because this is how you will draw them into you. You are the one making the decision. Here's who I want to work with. I am going to do this. Okay, so the big thing is, when you first get on the platform and you find someone who accepted your friend request or accepted your connection on LinkedIn, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to immediately send them a private message and say, hey, thanks for connecting with me. I'm Mary Smith and I'm a VA and I do these services and I think you should hire me. Thanks. It's a little off-putting, right? Just like you wouldn't do that if you went to a physical in-person networking meeting. Do you walk into the room and walk up to the first person and like grab their hand and shake it and be like, hi, this is what I do. You should hire me and work with me? No, you go in and you get to know people, right? I promise you it's the same thing online. It's just a mindset switch that sometimes people have trouble making. So please don't be the person who just pounces on them. And if they accept your connection, immediately send them an email and say, hi, here's what I can do. You should work with me. I don't want you to do that. I'm going to give you an alternative. Okay, so I'm not leaving you high and dry here. Okay. First, you want to take those steps that we talked about. You want to find other ways to make those connections with people. Follow their blog, share their stuff, comment on their posts, tag them and reshare their information. See what you might have in common, or if your business philosophies match up, okay? You want to be doing all those other things first. And sometimes when you're doing this process, it organically happens that conversations will come up. People will reach out to you. Maybe you answered a question for somebody in a Facebook group and they thought that was really helpful. And what do they do next? Well, like I said, they're going to start digging around and looking at your profiles and stuff. So make sure, like I said, that it matches across the board, that there's some continuity there, and you're clear about your services and your market. Okay, so keep that in mind. They're going to start looking into you just like you looked into them. So if that happens, they may reach out to you. They may take that opportunity to message you because they saw you out there being active. I will tell you, I got a client that way on Twitter, one of my first clients. I did not seek her out, but she found me because everything was lining up for her. It made sense because I was sharing content that she wanted to see that had to do with her market and solve the problems that she's dealing with in her business. So she reached out to me, and she was able to go behind the scenes and look at my website and my Twitter profile and my LinkedIn profile, and it all matched. It all said the same thing, and it was very clear who I helped. So she reached out to me. That very well could happen to you. What else did I want to tell you? And it could happen if you're involved in Facebook groups and answer questions for people. I've had that happen as well. Again, I didn't have to jump in there and say, hey, here's what I do, you should hire me. I was helpful. I put myself out there. I was in service. So it also might help you. Here's a little mindset tip. A lot of people, when they come into this industry, say, well, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not salesy. I don't want to sell and I don't want to come off that way. Then I want you to think about this instead. I don't want you to think about selling. I want you to think about how you can be of service to someone else. How can you help someone? How can you solve a problem? You're a helper, right? If you have a service-based business, that means you are helping people. You're solving a problem for them. People want their problems solved, okay? So it's okay to share in that way, but maybe just that mindset shift will help you to think about it a little bit differently. Okay, so we talked about the chances, sometimes people might come to you and reach out to you because of you've taken these other steps to build relationships. But if not, look at your interest list, and now is the time to start thinking about reaching out to them. So how do you do that? What do you say? I suggest using whatever platform they're most active on, or the one that you've connected with them more, or like maybe they liked that you shared something of theirs, and private message them on that particular platform. And so that it's not a completely cold connection here where those other pieces come into play. First of all, tell them how you know each other. We're in such and such group together. We're in this entrepreneur Facebook group together. And mention something that you have in common or something about their business. So here's where you could say, I recently read your blog post on how to fix my dishwasher. And it was such a quick fix and it was so helpful and I really appreciate it. Okay, whatever the industry is, it doesn't have to be dishwasher. It's just, I looked at my dishwasher and that's what I came up with. So you're introducing yourself, how you know each other. So not a completely cold introduction here. And then you're bringing more into that. Why are you reaching out? Well, I enjoyed your blog post, or, we're in such and such group together and, we both love whatever team, something. You can mention why you really enjoy working with their industry. Something I love about business coaches is they're really out there supporting other people and helping them run a business that they really want to run. And I love that. I can get behind that. That's my thing. Okay. Whatever it might be. And then suggest that maybe you continue the conversation more. So think about, it's the same concept of if you went to that in-person networking meeting and you did find someone that you gel with, what do you usually do next? And I mean when you really want the conversation to continue and you want to get this person as a client, not just what you say and you hand a business card out and you walk away and nothing happens, right? I'm talking about when you're being intentional and there is someone that you want to work with. Usually the conversation is then like, maybe we can get coffee and talk about this, right? You're doing virtual coffee. You could even tell them that. You could say that in the email. I just thought, I'm really interested in the industry and what you do, and just thought I'd want to talk further. That's the industry that I support in my business, and I'd love to get to know more about you and what you do. So you see, it's not a sales pitch, what I just did. I never really brought up what I did and you should hire me and work with me and here's everything I could do for you that would be great. This is a different way to do it. Like I said, not the only approach, but an approach that does work, okay? So you're introducing yourself, how you know each other, making some kind of connection with them, and then inviting them to take the conversation further. Maybe you're emailing back and forth. I've done that with people. Or maybe it's an actual phone call. Maybe it's Skype or Zoom or Uber conference. So many ways, right? Again, use the tools at your disposal that don't cost you a bunch of money and make those connections with people. Have that virtual coffee time and get to know each other, right? Because that's what you would do if you went to a networking meeting. It's really the same kind of thing. I'm just showing you how to do that online, okay? So some other points I want to mention here. Either way, like I said, consistency is so important. You need to pick something and try it for a bit and show up and do it. Often what I find when people work with me for marketing coaching, if they've tried something and then they come in and tell me, well, it doesn't work. When we really get into it, there's no consistency. And maybe there were missing pieces. Maybe they weren't clear on their services in the market. That's usually the big things. They're not clear on the services in the market, so people don't see themselves in their marketing, or there's no consistency. They might have set up a plan for themselves, but then they don't follow it. And They got online one day and then they let it go for like 2 months and then their page has been sitting there. And I'm not, if that's you, it's okay. There's no judgment here, judgment-free zone. But I'm telling you why, you know, situations so that you can relate to people who are trying this and they're telling me it's not working. That's usually why. So you need to be consistent. Like I said, create that schedule that's going to work for you. It can be simple. You can put it in on a daily planner if you want, or in your Google Calendar. Schedule that time to post some things, you know, that auto scheduling that we talked about with Buffer, for example, and then schedule your live time where you're intentional. I'm going to go on today and make X number of new contacts. I'm going to check if I see it, if I have any new likes and shares or comments, if anyone reshared my stuff, if I need to thank anyone, and see how many new contacts I want to make today. I'm going to do open the search box and put in business coach, and I'm going to find 5 more and I'm going to reach out and connect with them. Okay. Consistency is key. Remember, each conversation that you have with someone, each reach out that you do, like I said, with sending that message, it may not result in a new client, but there's always something you're going to learn in that conversation. I can guarantee you that. It might be a way that you need to revise things. It might be a way to better communicate with someone. It might be another question you thought of, oh, I should ask that when I'm getting to know somebody because that was important for me. It might be a way to find out who you don't want to work with. Okay, so there are lessons learned. And in order to get a yes, you often have to go through a bunch of no's first, right? So these conversations are all experiences and lessons. So I don't see any of them as horrible negatives. You can learn something from every one of them. But you need to be consistent and start having them, or you're not going to give yourself the opportunity to get to that point where you do get someone who is interested and wants to talk about working with you. Okay? A bonus tip for you, follow up. I want you to remember that you don't own social media, and you don't own the contact information of the people that you are talking to on social media. You do not have the right to take their name and then put it on your mailing list and then send them information. You cannot do that. You can do the ways that I've suggested to reach out to someone, but you don't own that information. So it's always good to think about how else can you connect with them in a way that you do own the information and you have control over making sure that you can keep talking to that person. Because not that we think it's going to happen, but Facebook could go away tomorrow, right? It could. It's not going to, but it could. And then what are you going to do? If you've tried to build these relationships and it was Facebook only based, what will you do next? So this is where I really suggest doing some email list building. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'm not going to get into huge detail about it today, but I do have products that teach you how to do it, and I offer coaching and we can work on it together. But if you build a list, if you have your own mailing list that you own of people who are interested in hearing what you have to say, here's something that could happen. And it's happened to me, it's happened to other VAs, but this is where it really works and you can keep that connection, that follow-up happening. Let's say you have the back and forth email conversation with someone, you're getting to know each other, and they start being interested in what you're saying, and they're like, oh, you really have me thinking now. I might be able to use your services, but I'm not going to be ready until X, or I have this big project coming up, but it's not till another couple months. Okay, well, I want you to make a note of that, and however you need to put a reminder in your calendar or something to get back with them, because yes, do that, especially if they're telling you to do it, do it. But if you had a mailing list, what you could say to them is, awesome, well, I'd love to keep in touch with you in the meantime. If I have your permission, can I add your name to my mailing list? And I check in with people, X times a month, and I just give you tips and things that would be helpful for your industry based on the kinds of services that I provide. Would that be okay with you? More often than not, if someone was serious about possibly looking into your services, they're going to say yes. And you can only add them when you have that permission. Another thing you cannot do is go in to LinkedIn, for example, and look up all your contacts and add all those people to your mailing list. You are not allowed to do that. It is against the law. They have to give you permission to add them to your list. But what I'm saying is if you have a conversation with someone and you bring it up, here is a great chance for a follow-up, right? You're also putting that ball back into a place that you own, not social media, in case they decide to shut out your account for some reason tomorrow because they thought you did something wrong and you didn't, whatever the case might be. You can say to them, hey, if I have your permission, I'll add you to my mailing list, and then that's a great way for us to keep in touch with each other. And I also give out, when you sign up, you get this great free thing that'll help you insert great free thing here that saves them time or money. Okay, so that's another part of it. If you have a freebie that they get when they sign up, that's also very enticing to get someone to want to hand over their email address to you. So again, that's a bonus tip. I'm not getting into huge detail about it, but I'm talking about follow-up. So we were consistent. Now we're following up with those people, especially if they were yeses or maybes or not right nows, but maybe laters. That's another easy way to keep in touch with them. And keep top of mind, because that's the big thing. If you're consistent about this, you're going to be the one that's top of mind when they do need that help. That's how this works. Like I said, with this whole process, it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. It's not, it could be, you could get on and make a connection with someone instantly and have them contact you and want to work with you, and it's the best relationship ever. But more than likely, you need to take some time to establish these relationships. So if you're consistent with this process and you do little steps on the way, you're going to get there and you're going to build these relationships. And I'm telling you, it's how I built my VA business. It's how I know that other VAs have built their business. So it's not the only strategy, but it is a strategy that works, and it's not something that costs a crazy amount of money to implement either, okay? So final thoughts, just start. I always say this to people. It's great that you're here and you're researching this and maybe taking notes, but I want you to take action too. At some point, you have to stop all the researching and just start doing. And I know that's hard sometimes. You have to let go of that perfectionist. You have to let go of the I don't know everything there is to know, and you have to start doing. So with this, go back and watch this video. I just broke down a step-by-step process of exactly what I do, the different pieces. Don't feel overwhelmed. Go back and do it step by step. Watch it again. It'll take you through the process. Start on the pieces. Maybe that's what you're going to schedule in on your calendar right now. You're not even scheduling, this is my time to be on live social media. This is my time to schedule social media. You're just scheduling in time to figure out what your process is going to be and then start implementing it. Maybe that's what you're scheduling, okay? Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, but no business or successful business is built overnight anyway. And you know that. Even think about, when you think about famous celebrities or bands, there really is no such thing as a true overnight success. You need to put in the time and effort and work and be consistent. Like I said, make a schedule for yourself. That'll help, whatever works for you. Let me give you a brief recap. So what did we go over? Let me look at my notes. We talked about what you need to do before you get on social media, being clear on your services and your market. We talked about how to find people on social media, how to locate where they are and which platforms you want to spend your time on and why. We talked about starting the relationship building, how you develop that process of getting this person who's a complete stranger and now building some type of relationship with them online. We talked about them and their content, and you and your content and what you're putting out there. We talked about ways to make sure that social media is not a time drain for you and you're not spending all of your time doing this. We talked about effective ways to reach out to these people and make true connections with them, and taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and taking action and not just waiting and hoping that they come to you. We talked about consistency. We talked about a bonus tip of follow-up and having a mailing list. So I think we covered a lot here. I'm hoping that this was a really good introduction for you of this whole concept of using social media to get clients. I hope that you realize it doesn't have to be super difficult, but you have to have a plan and take it step by step and walk through the process. So from here, if this is something that you want help putting into place, I offer group coaching and I offer one-on-one coaching. I split things up in this way. People who are starting out and need the business building foundational pieces, and then people who are ready to market their business. Because to me, it's two different things. As you can see with the steps that I went through here, you need to build the foundation first. You need to figure out your services and your market and the legal stuff for your business and the pricing. You need to do that, and then you can move on to the marketing, okay? So that's how I split things up. So I have help for you if you want to do it in a group setting and you want to do it with other people and you want to pay monthly and we do it together and you're all kind of in the same place in your business, whether it's setting up or it's marketing. I have options there. If the group thing isn't for you and you really want one-on-one time with the two of us, we do that. We get on the phone, I record it, you get all this information from me, all of my products that have to do with all these things I'm talking about. If you do one-on-one coaching with me, you get the stuff for free. Okay, so you can find it on the website under products that I have. But if you work with me in a coaching environment, you get that information for free. And then I even walk you through. I say, look at chapter 2 because that's what we're working on. And that's exactly what you need. So there's no more guessing. There's no more, who else am I getting the information from? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who teach the different things. You need to decide what's best for you and your business, what resonates with you, and take action. Do it. So yes, you can get this self-study information, and I have products that teach some of this information, but at some point, sometimes you need that other person to help you to say, how do I relate this to me and my business, right? How do I personalize this? That's something that really helped me when I got a business coach, where I could read all this and I could study it and I could take notes and I could watch webinars and buy ebooks. But when it came down to applying it to me and my business, sometimes it was hard, and I needed that outside person, that outside view. I was looking for someone who was further along the path than me, who was successful and maybe where I wanted to be, and who I also really resonated with as well to learn from. And that made a huge difference for me. I could finally relax and didn't have to feel so overwhelmed. I didn't have to go to 50 places for information anymore. I could just say, all right, this is the person, this is the stuff I need. I can focus and get down and work and make this business what I want it to be. So I want the same for you. So if you watch this and you feel that you resonated with me, leave a comment, let me know, or message me, and we'll talk about having a free call to talk about working together. So like I said, there's products, but I also have group coaching and one-on-one coaching options. You can also just schedule a free call and say, Alicia, I am very confused about what my one next step should be. I'm very big on the one next step. I'm big on taking out the overwhelm, making a plan, and then working the plan. It's progress, little steps at a time. So maybe you don't know what your one next step is. I'd be happy to help you figure out what makes sense for you. Okay, questions, comments about this concept of using a social media to get VA clients? Oh, more things are coming up. Let me see. Okay, Crystal says, not a question, but listening to this has taken a lot of the fear out of starting a business like this. Lots of great tips. Oh, good. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. I'm wanting to know, does this make sense? Does this resonate with you guys? Let me know. Hi, Mike. Hi, people who I'm seeing names just now. I'm sorry. It wasn't updating for me. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Like I said, none of it has to be super complicated, but you don't know what you don't know, right? These are things I didn't know starting out. And if I could have worked with somebody to find those things out, and I would have felt so much more relieved too. I think that, you can do this. Please remember, I didn't have experience with social media when I started. I didn't have experience with marketing a business online when I started, but I did it. I figured out, I learned it, and I got a coach, and it made it way easier, and I was able to figure it out even better. And those things clicked, but it's different for everyone. What works for everyone is different. Like I said, I am sharing a strategy that worked for me and also works for virtual assistants that I coach. You have to find what works for you. That's always the most important thing for me. Take what resonated with you and use it, take action, and come and ask questions if you need something, okay? So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for sticking around if you were here the whole time. If you're watching this on a replay, thank you for spending the time. I will be sharing this in other places so that you can get access to it. I'll probably add some helpful links of places that you can find more information about the topics that we talked today. But you are always welcome to stop by. Subscribe at newvaadvice.com. You will get a ton of free gifts on a really great checklist on step-by-step, what do I do when I'm starting my virtual assistant business, because it's usually the biggest question. You get information about figuring out that target market. So I give you some good freebies to get started. So questions, comments, leave them below. I will also check in after this live and see if there's anything that I missed. Hi, Angela. But I hope that you're all having a great day or night wherever you are, and take action and get started. I'm excited for you. I want things to work for you. So don't stay stuck. Come to somebody you trust and ask questions, okay? All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great day or night, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.